Yeah, please.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. A very good evening to each and everyone present over here. I, Professor Sriparna Bhattacharya, on behalf of Bharatiya Vidyabhavan Institute of Management Science, Kolkata, delightedly welcome to all the resource persons and participants over here. This COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the labor markets across the globe, often with devastating consequence. Now, as infection rates in some countries begin to ebb, many are turning their sights to the future of work beyond the crisis and to what the pandemic's more lasting effects on the workforce might look like. Reconstructing a better and more resilient labor market is an essential investment in the future generations. The crisis has accelerated the levels of digitalization to help reduce physical interactions. This has meant finding ways to reinvent work and in some cases a partial disruption of jobs and changes in the way workers perform them. This pandemic has changed not only how people work, but also setting up what could be lasting employment landscape shifts that could require the large-scale reskillings of new workers. With sourcing of production moving closer to end users, the crisis could trigger a restructuring of supply chains. As companies localize or regionalize them, that will shift which skills are needed and where. The central dilemma facing by us as we rethink how we will work and what are needed to furnish future jobs. In this scenario, we, Bharatiya Vidyabhavan Institute of Management Science, Kolkata, organizes today's webinar, Revisiting Employability Skills to Sustain in the Corporate World in Post-Pandemic Period. So BIMS Kolkata was started its journey in 2000 under the aegis of Bharatiya Vidyabhavan as a promising B school under Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology. Our MBA program is affiliated to MACAUT and approved by AICET, Government of India, and Department of Higher Education, Technical Education, Government of West Bengal. And the institute conducts a 2-year MBA and 3-year BBA program on a regular basis. Now, I would like to request all the resource person to lightening the lamp for today's evening along with Bhavan's prayer.
Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah. Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah. Shatrubuddhi vinashaya deepajyotir namostute. Deepajyotir namostute. Deepajyotir parabrahma. Deepajyotir janardanah. Deepajyotir parabrahma. Deepajyotir janardanah. Deepo hartu me papam. Sandhya deepa namostute. O deepa brahma rupasvam. Jyotisham prabhuravyayah. O
हमारा प्रभु अर्पित सब कर्म करारा मानव को संपन्न बनाता प्रभु अर्पित सब कर्म करारा मानव को संपन्न बनाता सदा एकता प्रेम भक्ति पर सदा एकता प्रेम भक्ति पर तन मन धन सब वारा जय जय विद्या भवन भारती जय जय विद्या भवन हमारा जय जय विद्या भवन हमारा जय जय विद्या भवन हमारा जय जय विद्या भवन हमारा
Now, I would like to request our Honorable Principal Sir to give a warm welcome to all of the resource person and participant. Please, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Siparna. Very good evening
Thank you, sir.
to all of you. Our resource persons today, Sri Sandeep Kumar Puttal, Sri Saurabh Raghuvanshi ji, and Sri Satish Kumar Sahu ji, Mukesh Kumar ji, on behalf of my personal behalf and on behalf of Bharat Vidyavan Institute of Management Science, Kolkata family, I may take the privilege to welcome you all the resource persons, all the participants, all the faculty members to this webinar on revisiting employability skills to sustain in the corporate world post-pandemic period. Thank you all for participating in this webinar. And first of all, I must thank the participants from the colleges like IEM Kolkata, Eminent College of Management and Technology, Dr. Ambedkar Memorial Institute of IT and Management Science, Kursiang College, Globes in Business School, Ramnagar College, Vidyasagar University, Kunja Bihari College, Barang, Khordha, Odisha, and Sonada Degree College, Odisha, and IIMM Mumbai, and Bharati Dasan Government College for Women, Puducherry. So we can see that pan-India participation is there, and we are really delighted to see that you have accepted our invitation and participated in this webinar, and I am sure that you will enjoy the deliberations of this webinar. Let me just take another 2 minutes to give a brief account of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Institute of Management Science, Kolkata. As Professor Siparna has already mentioned, we are operating since last 2000, and initially we started with the MBA program, and later on from 2013 we have added the BBA program. So we are running together two programs, 2 years full-time MBA and 3 years full-time BBA program. We are accredited by NAC, and we are known for our infrastructure, quality faculty, as well as we have the very strong point that is called 100% placement assistance to all the BBA and MBA students of our institute. So I will not take more time. We all take the privilege to invite you. Once you get time, visit our website, visit the campus physically, and I am sure that you will enjoy. So that's the basic purpose of today's webinar. I will not take more time because lot of resource persons are there and all are eagerly waiting to listen from them. But from March 22, 2021, the COVID-19 crisis has supercharged transformations driven by automation and digitization resulting in a corresponding skills shift. An estimated 107 million workers may now need to switch occupations by 2030. About 12 million more than our pre-pandemic estimate, what we estimated earlier. Demand for basic cognitive and manual skills will fall, while the need for technological, social, and emotional skills will increase. While this shift was already underway before the COVID-19, we now expect an acceleration. For example, demand for social and emotional skills could increase by 25% in the US over the next decade, compared to the previously expected 18% rise in the pre-pandemic scenario. Knowing this, leaders understand the urgency to develop employee skills with the objective of giving them the flexibility needed to evolve their occupations. However, many realize that their organizations are not prepared for such a major shift. While training and reskilling are essential to adjust its talent model as a whole to allow new talents to emerge. Accordingly, levers related to professional development, employee value propositions, and recruiting and people-related enablers should also be addressed. Here are some ways to accomplish that. As per my view, adjust professional development to reflect the growing need for adaptability. Professional development should be integrated within ongoing business and individual performance management and also linked to compensation. Managers can emphasize the importance of personal and professional development, give guidance and counseling on its benefits, and encourage employees to take the necessary time to prepare for and attend learning programs. In addition, career paths should be adapted to offer employees opportunities to evolve or change professional tracks, considering both the potential for what development programs the company offers and the employees' appetite to adapt and learn. Number two, link reskilling to recruitment and making the company attractive to talent. Organizations should advertise continuous growth and development as key parts of their talent management process and culture. Number three, support the link between talent development and talent strategy within the broader business strategy. In order to create the link, if it is necessary to develop a skill-based human resource information system that reflects the existing skills baseline as well as those skills that are needed to deliver on business objectives. Next, and the last not the least, organizations should also develop a personalized, user-friendly learning ecosystem that taps external players with established offerings to train for specific skill sets. So I would like to end. As I told you, I will not take more time because time is very short. Within 1.5 hours, we have to listen to our resource persons. As the world adapts to and recovers from the COVID-19 crisis, deploying these three levers will help put your organization in a strategic position to manage, develop, and enable talent with focus and care. With this, I would like to close my part, and once again, I may take the privilege to welcome you all on my own personal behalf as well as on behalf of the BIMS family to all the participants all the faculty members, all the students, and all the resource persons. Wish you all a happy and warm evening. Enjoy the program. Thank you very much. Over to you, Suparna.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving a very warm welcome to all of us and all of the eminent resource person present over here. Now I am taking the privilege to introduce our all eminent resource person for today's webinar. First of all, our first resource person, Mr. Sandeep K. Puthal. Mr. Sandeep K. Puthal is a head corporate HR at Projects and Development India, Noida. He is an alumnus of St. Xavier's College, Ranchi, and XISS, Ranchi, one of the premier B Institute of India. He is a seasoned industry leader in human resources, general management, and business operations. He had successful stints with Airtel, Oxford University Press, ITI Limited, and he possesses relevant experience in telecom, publishing, and project consultancy industries. Our next speaker is Mr. Saurav Raghuvangshi. He is the Vice President and Head of the Supply Chain Management and E-Commerce Business of Lava International Limited, Noida. He is also a seasoned industry leader in general management and business operations. He has 14 years of rich experience in various industries such as telecom, e-commerce, retail, and automobile, like organization Lava, Walmart, and Tata Motors. He has done his MBA from one of the premier B school in India, ISB, and BTech from NIT Rourkela in India. He had been conferred as 40 under 40 Supply Chain Achiever Award by Celerity magazine. He has been awarded for transformational leadership in mobile phone supply chain management by ISAM. Welcome you, sir, in today's evening. Our next eminent resource person is Mr. Satish Shau. He is a director marketing in Cipla Health Limited, Mumbai. He has also 15 years of rich experience in FMCG marketing and sales. He possesses rich experiences across various organizations operating in health and wellness division, home care products, and food, having handled brands like Good Day, Dettol, Morton, Bourbon, Sugar Free, etc. He is an alumnus, one of the premier B School Auxiliary Jamshedpur with successful stints according leading companies Reckitt Beckinsale, Britannia, and Zydus Wellness. He brings a wealth of experience to the Cipla Health family, who aims for a healthier future for all the stakeholders in a newer heights. Sir, a very warm welcome for today's evening. Our last but not the least speaker is Mr. Mukesh Kumar. He is a director finance of Braithwaite Burn and Jeshop Construction Company Limited, Kolkata, under Ministry of Heavy Industries and Government of India. He is a seasoned industry leader in division of finance with more than 23 years of rich experience, with 10 years in several private sector companies of repute, including Tata's, and 13 years in public sector with successful stints across leading companies like Projects and Development India, where he was heading finance or materials, and Vadodara and Sindri units. Mukesh has also been assigned to Director Finance function in Scooters India Limited. He is an ICWA and MBA Finance. Very welcome you, sir. Before moving to the next section, I would like to request all the participants, please mute yourself for the smooth functioning of this program.
Please mute everybody except the host and co-host.
Mr. Nilanjan Das, I would like to request you, please mute yourself. And I would like to request all the participants, please mute yourself for our smooth effectiveness. That's all from my part. Now I would like to hand over today's program to Mr. Sandeep Puthul.
Good evening.
Yes, Sandeep sir.
And participants. I hope I am audible to everybody. Sipanna?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are completely audible.
Yeah, you start the slide sharing part of it.
Yes, sir. I am here.
Yeah.
Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, sir. Sir, you will just tell me to move for the next
Yeah,
slide and I will go. Okay.
next I will tell like that. So you can
Okay,
move
sir.
forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Patra, and thanks to Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan for giving us this opportunity to interact with a lot of students and academicians.
Not
across-
audible, sir.
Huh? Come again?
Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome everybody and welcome to Saurav, Satish and Mukesh, who have been very kind to accept the invitation at short notice. And in fact, each of them has contributed to the finishing of the this presentation also. And obviously they will be very much part of the interactive sessions which we'll have. So welcome friends, and let's start. Next slide, please. So we're basically revisiting the employability skills to sustain in the changed, situation, which is the post-COVID world, in which everyone has seen what it has been almost 2 years, more than 2 years, in fact, now. So what is the effect in business? What has been the consumer shifts, and how we are to live with this, pandemic, and how we have to conduct our business, and how it will change the employability prospects, which the students are most eager to know, right?
Sir, audio is very low, please.
Audio is low.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me then do one thing. Let me use a mic.
I can hear properly. Probably others can comment too.
Okay.
Start with a mic now.
Is the sound better
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Now it is okay.
Okay,
Now
now
it
I'm
is
using a mic. So, okay. Not an issue. So, let's resume. Next slide, please. So, it has been a worldwide disruption, whether in terms of business or affecting humans across the world, in terms of whether you call it the daily life, the suffering, the movements, and we have moved now to a new normal. So masks are ubiquitous, sanitization, everybody is paranoid about, social distancing, I don't know how far we can maintain that, and the delivery man who is now the face of business. So whether it is internet or whether it is the, uh, the computers who are doing it, but ultimately when it comes to services, it's the delivery man who is the face of industry now. And as far as internet is concerned, it is the rise and the rise and the rise of work from home and online business and learning. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah. As Professor Patra was saying, we have had a huge loss, and the projected one is something like more than 100 million job losses. So the losses are there, and yet we have new opportunities. The opportunities are in terms of young minds like those doing MBA or BBA, so whether they're ready to learn new skills and to prepare themselves for the post-COVID world. So it is reskilling, upskilling, and in fact, learn to learn and learn to discern will help you while you earn, isn't it? Next. The interruption to education in general, and mind it, the school education in particular. Now think of the children in rural areas, in villages, in slums. Do they have the smartphone? See, you and me might have smartphones in which we can interact in a MBA level, in a graduation, post-graduation level. But when you talk about small children, how far, their span of attention is very low. So how far they can be glued to screen? Obviously, games is a different matter. But when it comes to teaching, I don't know how far they would be glued to that and how much resources are available. So it is the disproportionate impact on the vulnerable groups. And you have already seen the impact on migrant labor, so also in women. Next. Now, Satish, I would like you to continue on the consumer part.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Really glad to be here and addressing this big gathering. So what I've done is I put together some few specific slides from a marketing perspective. Now, it is important to, from a marketing perspective or a marketing professional perspective, it's important to understand what are the shifts that the consumer has gone through to be able to understand, hence, what is the change that it is causing in the life of a marketing professional. So these are three big things or the shifts that have happened over last couple of years. One of them we already discussed about, which is embracing of the digital tools. I will talk about it in more detail. But the first two, heightened focus on health, focus on better living now, are something I'm sure everybody will identify with. Now, the first one is when the COVID came, people were restricted to their homes. Largely, they were doing jobs which are also sedentary, but when they were limited to homes, it became further sedentary. And that had an acute impact in the first COVID lockdown specifically, when the focus on health and wellness really went up for most of the people, right? And those trends were seen across how health and wellness brands performed, how the adoption of some of these health and wellness brands went about. And we'll see some of them in the details in the slides going forward. The other one, the second one, which you see on the slide, is focus on better living now. Where does this come from? We are staying in very uncertain times, right? We are right in the middle of a wave 3. Wave 1 has gone, wave 2 has gone, and we are right in the middle of a wave 3. And because of these multiple waves coming, everybody feels that we are in the middle of uncertain times. Pata nahi kal, what happens tomorrow? What happens to me tomorrow? What happens to the people around me tomorrow? And hence, why not enjoy now? Why wait for 10 years? Why wait for 15 years? Why wait for 20 years? Yeah. So that's a big change that you see has come in the consumer psyche. And that is impacting how a consumer is purchasing, and hence impacting how marketers should also adapt and behave while keeping in mind these consumer behavior changes.
True.
Next slide, please.
Next slide.
So some details and some examples that we have captured together. So I've clubbed heightened focus on health and focus on better living now. From a perspective of this audience that is here, what is
Anna, can you minimize the scale a bit so that it fits in?
I think
the slide.
It's fine.
It's becoming too huge, I think. The whole thing is not coming.
Okay.
Sipanna?
Yes, sir. Just
In between something happened.
Now it's okay.
Yeah, this is the right size.
Okay.
Go for.
Cool. So,
Satish,
yeah. So, what are the implications for a marketer? I'm approaching these two specific things which have happened in the last 2-3 waves in these times from a marketer's perspective. What is an implication for us is that the consumer has changed. Has the consumer actually changed? Yes, the consumer has changed. The last 3 waves has such a lasting impact on the consumers that actually consumers thinking towards health and wellness has changed, and it has led to the acceleration and adoption of multiple products and multiple services related to health and wellness. And I've already spoken about uncertain times. So the implication for marketer is that we need to understand the consumer better. There was a consumer which was there 3 years back, but now after all these 2 years, all these waves that we have gone through, we need to be closer to the consumer and understand how have they changed, and hence what is the implication to our work and the day-to-day things that we do. Second one is revising product portfolios. A lot of companies have revised their product portfolios, have relooked at their brands. For example, health, and because of the rise in health and wellness, the demand for natural products has really shot up. Dabur, for example, has picked up a brand Vatika. You know, everybody knows possibly about Vatika. And they have picked up that brand Vatika and are pushing it really hard in the market because the acceptance of these kind of brands has really gone up. Haldiram's is really known for junk food, right? For snacking, junk food. And Haldiram, for a change, is actually foraying into healthy foods. Who would have imagined this a few years back? Car brands, because people are focusing on living now, what they are doing is they are upgrading. A lot of people are upgrading who would have bought, for example, a 5 lakh cars. A 5 lakh car is actually purchasing and coming forward and purchasing a 10 lakh car, because that was his aspiration and dream maybe 10 years into the future. But that they are trying to fulfill now because these times are uncertain and nobody knows what happens tomorrow. And hence, a lot of car brands are focusing on launching high-end cars and SUVs, and you see the sales and percentage of these
but
cars.
Satish, if I were to interrupt, do you think how big is the market for a 10 lakh plus cars in India?
It's very small. It's small, but it was very small before the COVID, and it has actually grown some 200, 300
And I
times.
think the aspirational thing, as you said, now this Tata Motors have launched a Punch model, which looks like a mini SUV.
Absolutely.
So I think to cater to the demands of the SUV aspirants, so they have put the from 5 lakhs to say, I think Harrier is around 25 or something.
Yeah.
So they have the whole range from 5 to 25.
Correct. So
and
this,
obviously, if you go further, they have JLR as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this demand was always there. It is not that it has come up right now, but this demand has got accelerated, significantly accelerated in 2 years because of this changed mindset of the consumer.
Next slide.
Next slide, please.
Sripanna. Yeah.
Similarly, like I gave an example of Dabur extending Vatika into the market. Similarly, new contextual launches are happening. A lot of immunity-based products you will see in the market as of today. And as a marketer community, I can tell you our approach to building any new product development or any innovations has also changed. We see it with a certain filter because the consumer has changed, the times have changed, and the demands of the consumers has changed. Another thing about the industry that is becoming true is the FMCG, as in fast-moving consumer products that we use on a regular basis in our life. The approach of that industry is also changing to a certain extent. A lot of organizations have started focusing on their health and wellness portfolio. GSK had a very well-rounded business. For example, they had a Horlicks part of the business, which was into MFDs. And they also had a consumer health business, but they have sold off their non-consumer health business, and they are focusing on the consumer health business, for example, in India right now. Reckitt Benckiser had home and healthcare. They are planning to hive off home care and focusing only on healthcare. So that those are the focuses that are shifting because even consumer is shifting in that direction. People are longing for these kind of products going forward.
True.
Yeah, and we see a lot of pharma companies actually starting to focus on their wellness divisions. A lot of pharma companies are actually putting up wellness divisions to start with. Actually, we had maybe one or two in the country in last 2 years, but if you I can promise you in next 5 years you will see many such companies coming up.
Right.
Okay, next slide, please.
Next slide.
The last one and the most important one is the digitization and the impact of how the digital world has really changed for a consumer and hence for a marketer. Yeah. So media consumption, as even you would be doing media consumption, has jumped multifold in the digital channels, right? You spend, I'm sure this audience spends a lot of time on OTT, significant time from what you were doing before. All the new movie launches, new films are coming on OTT. So what that means that we need to have a better understanding of the digital landscape. It is getting busy. A lot of players are coming in, a lot of new innovations are happening, which means that we need to understand it better. Yeah. And hence we need to understand about new and innovative way to engage with the consumer and create content for each of these platforms. Yeah. But while we do that, it should not come at a cost of losing focus on the traditional channels. When I say traditional channels, I mean TV. Yeah. TV is not gone down. TV is there, but digital has really taken a jump shift in these last 2 years. A lot of purchases of ours has shifted to digital platforms. We possibly a lot of us are not going to our
Satish, I have not renewed my Tata Sky for the last 2 years.
Same here.
It is on OTT now.
Same
So the
here.
TV, I don't know where it's going. Yeah.
So I'm also 100% digital consumer as of since last 2-3 years, and I'm sure a lot of people have increased, may not be 100%, but have gone up significantly. On purchase, our purchases have moved to digital platforms. E-commerce for a lot of brands has actually doubled, tripled in terms of contribution. Yeah, so digital spends typically in the industry ranges around 10%. Digital spends would have gone up to around 15 to 20% for industries. E-commerce, which was playing maybe a 3%, 5%, 7% kind of contribution for a lot of industry. I'm talking specifically about FMCG. I'm sure for Saurav organization Lava, it would be significantly higher.
Yeah, Satish ji. Yeah, hi. Yeah, so you're right. Actually, like probably I will touch upon a couple of things on e-commerce since the subject is broached. So let me talk about smartphones since I belong to that industry. So probably a couple of years back, the online purchases, like the number of consumers who were purchasing online, that was around like less than 30%, 25 to 30%. Right now, 45 to 50% of the smartphones in India are actually being purchased online through Amazon and of the world. So that is the paradigm shift like that has happened. And secondly, if I talk about the purchases from the mobile, so 35% of e-purchases are happening on mobile. But if I talk about Amazon, Flipkart per se, 95% of their purchases are on mobile and 5% on websites. Particularly on that level. So that has been the shift that has happened where we move to the small screen and something which is in hand and we need an instant purchase being happening.
Yeah.
And thirdly, you also touched on the D2C. So the companies like Nykaa and Bombay Shaving and others, they are right now reaching directly to the consumers and forcing even the incumbents to think otherwise. And now like all the even the MNCs are trying the D2C route, launching brands which primarily looking for the reaching to consumers directly and cutting the channels in between. So that is another shift happening. Yeah. And this has also implication on the supply chain side. So probably like that I will touch upon later, wherein the way industry is shifting from to D2C, direct to consumer. Supply chain also is evolving, wherein how a supply chain of an organization can probably serve the consumer directly, efficiently and effectively.
Yeah. Right. So actually, a lot of brands have introduced D2C for the first time, which there were no plans about that in last 4-5 years. I can tell you, I know of some 10-15 brands who have actually had D2C plans coming up in last couple of years for the first time.
Absolutely.
Because the platform is gaining so much of importance. Yeah.
Very right. We have 2 raised hands. Any questions? One Mr. Roy is there, and second I'm not able to see.
Yes, Shubham and Mr.
Subham and
Suranjan.
Surajan. Do you have any questions?
If you have any question, you can
Ask right
unmute
now.
yourself. Yes.
No question, no, ma'am, no question.
Okay.
No questions.
I'm
Okay.
still
Okay.
at work.
No question, ma'am.
Yeah.
You
Next
can
slide,
proceed,
please.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about employability skills post COVID. The obvious one, but how the relook is, we look into it. There's a leadership, teamwork, flexibility, adaptability, innovation, creativity, critical thinking, and not the least is being technical savvy and improving communication. Next slide, please. So when we talk about flexibility, adaptability, and innovation, so here what is important is rapid response. As Satish has been saying in a couple of minutes earlier, we have unexpected deadlines. In corporate world, it's called as of yesterday, isn't it? Very common. And when customer says, "Ye dil mange more," and you remember the Pepsi ad, so you have to address these issues. And when project enters COVID phase, I'll tell you about my company. They are project management consultants for 4 very important projects. Each project is worth about 9,000 crores. So you can think that almost around 40,000 crores projects are being handled by my company. And then after just starting the construction phase, what happened was COVID phase came. So you can imagine all kinds of restrictions. Then you had to disband the people. In each project site, we had something like 5,000 people working. Each project, 3,000 to 5,000 people in each site, depending on the stage of construction. So what happens to these people? So those kind of problems. So you are basically wanting to speed up, and you are suddenly braking. So it's like accelerating uphill. And whether you are able to deliver under pressure is another thing, right? Next slide, please. Now I would request Mukesh ji to pitch in and take it forward.
Thank you, Putal Sahab. And thank you, Bharti Vidya Bhavan, for giving me this opportunity to address you people.
Incidentally, he is from Calcutta. He is based at Calcutta, so you can always utilize him whenever you want. Yeah, please.
So it is my privilege to be the part of this August gathering. So, sir, I will just take up from where you left.
Yeah.
So, actually, as Mr. Patra already pointed out, that the need for reskilling has already been there. Our business scenario was already facing the need to reskill its employee force or upskill its employee force. But what has happened during the COVID period, that this need was accelerated. So whatever the new skill set is required today, that was bound to come, but it might have come some 2-3 years forward. But due to this COVID scenario, this set requirement came abruptly. So as Putal Sahab pointed out, in the present COVID scenario, and particularly for the young MBA aspirants we are addressing, we need to appraise them of the skill set required to land a good job or to survive in the job, whatever they get after completing their education. So first thing the screen is there is leadership. Leadership is about bringing people together for a common purpose. So it should not be misunderstood that it is the role of leadership is the role of the person who is heading a team or who is leading a team. Anybody can lead from his own position. I'll just give an example of today itself. As we are a public sector undertaking, I'm Director of Finance in a public sector undertaking, and Government of India has organized Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, AKAM we call it. So we are celebrating AKAM, this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, to commemorate the 75 year of independence. So to celebrate this event, we constituted a committee, and there was a person in committee, Mr. I'll take his name also, Sagat Rai. He is a unionized person. He is at clerical level. So suddenly, because of surge of this COVID cases, most of our team members started getting COVID infected and were out of the scene. So this person, this Sagat Rai, pitched in. He took lead, and today was the last day of celebration, of a week-long celebration we had, where we had to conduct some 7-10 events, and he took the lead and conducted all the events. So it is not. So it is not about that the person who is leading the team has to be a leader only. Anybody can be a leader in his own position. Whatever role is assigned to you, you should feel that you are responsible for that. You should take all initiatives to accomplish your goal. So this is what leadership is. So it should not be confused with that a team leader can be a person of a higher scale or higher grade. Okay, so next slide, please.
This one is, I think, duplication. Just move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please.
Now flexibility. Since I am working as a functional director in the company, I would try to elaborate all the points, giving live examples, giving the recent examples of all the qualities that is required to be a successful employee in a company, or to successfully land a good job. So next one comes is flexibility. So just with the onset of this COVID situation, flexibility is one of the key attribute which all employers look in their prospective employees. Earlier we were into 9 to 5 kind of job. We used to go to office, we punch our attendance, work there and come home back at 5. But now the requirement has changed. We have to complete our task by adopting whatever means we are with. Initially, since I'm a finance person, I would like to just give example from finance side only. My team was working in SAP in my erstwhile company, or in my present company. They are working on a separate accounting software. So they were working in SAP, and just at the time when the COVID started, it was perhaps end of February 2020. So at that time, since finance people are mostly required to meet the deadlines, we had to file a lot of returns. We have to prepare for accounts closing activity. We had to send salary to the employees. But people were not allowed to go to the office. They had to work from home. Right. So they had to adapt to these changes. They had to be flexible enough to address to the changed requirement. So only those people who responded to the new requirement could succeed in their job.
I'd just like to add to what Mukesh is saying. During this period, then we had a tricky situation. The students should be interested, because we have this internship training, 2 months internship training, where MBA and graduate engineering students, they come for training in the organization, and they're able to learn a lot of school things which they don't learn in the business school, right? So we had in our department who were assigned two young students from Hindu college, which is one of the premier college, and the college was after us that look, we should give online training. So we didn't know how to do an online training for the young students, and we went through we had at least 8 to 10 sessions, each of almost 2 to 2.5 hours. And I'm happy to share with you that both the students got very highly praised. One of them, in fact, got admission into IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore both. He joined Ahmedabad IIM, and another one in the D School of Economics. Continue,
Yeah.
Mukesh ji.
Only Sandeep ji, I will pitch in and share one more example.
Yeah,
related to
please,
what
please.
you shared.
Please.
So, like we also had an requirement for a full-term intern in our office from an MBA college. So
Right.
idea like colleges are going on, the entire semester is there, how to take some, like we were clear we need someone in office, not otherwise around. So generally it is like colleges are full-time and we take the internship wherein it can be through the colleges, through some assignments. Now what is happening is we took someone with the permission of the college who is with me full-time for 6 months, working with us on operations, and the classes for this next 6 months, that student is attending online from our office.
Okay.
So that's the shift.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So the classes are online, so they can we are permitted to attend from our office while
Right.
work rest of the time and gain corporate experience while you are in that last semester of your
Right.
office.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. And Mukesh, please continue.
Yeah. So what I was saying that flexibility, and the next slide is about adaptability. So flexibility and adaptability are to most extent inherent in all of us. We can see in our houses that our children have adapted to the revised the education pattern. They are now learning online. Just before COVID, who would have thought of all these things? But this came, people responded to all the revised requirements. They adapted to this requirement. So that is the quality employees would like to have in their prospective recruits. So it is not like that I get this X resource, Y resource, then I will deliver the Z output. We have to manage with the resources, whatever we have. It
Limited
is not
resource.
like that you will change. Yeah, you have to deliver with the limited resource, whatever you have available. And particularly when we talk of the government companies, sir, you would be knowing much better than me that in private sector, we generally get, actually, since you also have a lot of private sector experience and I'm also having private sector experience, both of us know that in private sector, we do get resources much easily.
Yeah.
But in PSU, particularly when we talk of the employee side, some job was earlier done by, say, 5 people. Gradually, one retired, one resigned. It doesn't mean that the job is stopping. You have to deliver and you have to deliver in time. So you have to take load, you have to flexible, or you have to find out the other ways of doing it in the required time. So this is what flexibility and adaptability is all about, and it is a very critical requirement.
And I would like to pitch in here and inform the audience also that if anybody is thinking that public sector job is very light, Mukesh is burdened with another company. He is also the director of finance for Scooters India Limited. Plus, he is the person also who is going to the project sites and also motivating the employees out there on the field. So the times have changed, and now, like, I'll just give you a small example for you to understand. A steel plant used to operate in the 60s and 70s with nearly 1 lakh employees. Right now, that steel plant was having something like Rourkela steel plant I can vouch for, was having 0.5 million ton capacity. Now the same steel plant is having 4 million, that means 8 times, and the number of employees is less than 10,000. So that is how things have changed, how digitization and automation
Yeah.
has invaded each and every business. Continue, Mukesh.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add one
Yeah,
example. For example,
Please.
marketing usually has to coordinate with all functions in terms of taking the back end till the front end,
Right.
manufacturing of the product till the, for example, selling it. All of these things had a physical nature to it, as in there were face-to-face visits. There were visits to the plant. There was production happening. There was new launches happening where people were called into, for example, a launch room and a hotel and things like that. All of these things had to be rediscovered. You know, so I'm not talking about many such small processes which used to happen face to face. You being there, your presence being required, but all this waves has led to us rediscovering ways of working, and everything. All of this has moved online, including launches, where people are actually coming together, launches, and then taking it to the market, for example.
True. Yeah, please continue, Mukesh.
Yeah, even when you talk about the pure government services, whom we popularly call them as babus.
Yeah.
The general impression is that they are very reluctant to work, and they work in a very comfortable way, and they will do as per their whims and fancies. But with all the present scenario, the things have rapidly changed. Even the CAG auditors, who are the most respected babu, we call, the controller and the representatives from Controller and Auditor General of India, they are now conducting online audits. They are asking for the documents online. So things have
And before
changed,
they come, before they enter the office, they want all those documents.
Yeah, and actually everybody is afraid of their life. So they also want to play it a safe game. So that is how things are moving, and to be able to survive in your job, or and while addressing these students, I would rather say, to be able to get a good job, they have to show that they are readily agreeable to work under any circumstances. They are readily ready to adapt to any condition.
True.
So that is what is required. So next slide, please. Critical thinking. So in a working scenario, there may be hundreds of problems, but every problem has one solution definitely with it. So that solution we have to find out. And for thinking critically, or to find out some out-of-box solution, actually people think that, okay, if I get that opportunity, I will solve it like this way. No, it is not like that you will get an opportunity. Such opportunity doesn't come to you by appointment. You have to ready to think critically in your whatever you are doing, whatever, even if it is simply paying a salary to the employee, which is considered one of the most easiest finance function. You have to find out alternatives. Well, just I was giving the COVID example, sir. Pudal Sahib, you must be aware that while I was at Barodara unit, during the onslaught of COVID conditions in February 2020, our SAP was also down. So even one of my colleagues, Mr. Vikrant, who was in charge of making salary, he tried to make salary sitting at home because he was not allowed to go to bank, go to office. But our SAP server was down, and our consultants who were looking after maintenance of our SAP server, they were also not reachable, or they were also not able to help us out. So at that time, and being a government organization, you can't think of a condition that you not pay salary to your employee on right time, because that will create a much bigger problem. So that was a very critical condition where we needed to come out with some solution. So what we decided, okay, last month we have paid salary, that data is with us. Let us pay that net salary.
Right.
आगे देखेंगे क्या करना है. Next month adjust कर लेंगे जिसका जो होगा.
True.
But that salary was paid in due time. So that is how you need to think critically. अब उसमें भी ऐसा नहीं है कि you pay salary to all the employees. At least you have some idea that who is under punishment, who is absconding. So you need to find out ways out in consultation with the related persons, whosoever has idea of the. So and in those COVID times, Pudal sir, me and you were in touch like anything.
True.
So
Next slide, please.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now it is creativity and innovation. We can relate the example just which I gave with this creativity and innovation. So you that is not just an example. Apart from that, there may be a lot of situation where you can innovate ways to come out with the solution.
Shall I pitch in here?
Yeah, please,
I
sir.
believe your company is going into brainstorming sessions. So I'll
Yeah.
just give one example in a company, a public sector organization, ITI Limited. So ITI Limited, I was put in that time in a plant. It is a complex, 3 plants were there at Raebareli. So we had a lot of, labor issues. The IR problems were there. Unions were very strong. So what we did, how to engage the workers who constitute about 75% of the population. So what we did was to join them in a management review meeting in which these people were also part of it. So what they used to do, they used to give their valuable ideas. So we prodded them that, look, you know production best. So how it is the production units, we are making telephone exchanges there and RF equipment. Saurabh would be knowing this. So these factories were manufacturing that. So whenever there were issues, there will be technical problems, and those who are actually working there can come out with it, innovative ideas, creative ideas, which will help us to tide over the tight situation which it had been. Continue, Mukesh.
Yeah. So this innovation and creativity is in the employment per se. It is not about just innovating new products always or creating something new always. Within whatever you are doing, you can create. Within whatever you are doing, you can innovate. Here also, I'll like to pitch in with one example. We were procuring copper through tender. Sorry, not copper, nickel.
Yeah.
In my erstwhile company, sir, you must be aware of that case.
Yeah.
We were procuring nickel through tender, and nickel, we had 2 vendors who applied to our tender. One ex-vendor was there who would give a firm price for your forthcoming supplies.
Yeah.
But that price was valid for the month only. And again, there was Y vendor who would not give any firm price, who would give you a formula only, that at the end of month, they will get a London Metal Exchange LME rate. Over that rate, they will put in this formula, this exchange rate, and after that, they will give you the final price. But in the meantime, you can lift the material, you will provisionally pay them a much higher amount. But final calculation will be done at the end of month. So let us take the example of January. X company was ready to supply us on a rate which they declared on 1st January.
Right.
But Y company was ready to supply us on a provisional rate, and the final rate would be worked out on 31st January, not only the 31st January, few days into February, say 4th, 5th February, because they will need monthly average of the London Metal Exchange rate, monthly average of the dollar conversion rate, and upon that, those two variables, they will put on a formula, stuck up into situation because of the calculation, we cannot reject any party. And we have to, being a public sector unit, we have to definitely select one L1 party through whom we can procure. Yeah, through a lowest party through whom we can procure. So there was a lot of brainstorming going on into the company. So we finally worked out that, okay, चलो इनसे पिछले महीने का रेट ले लेते हैं दोनों का. Now both are historical data.
Yeah.
And both are big companies. And on the basis of their previous month, because formula was fixed, only the variable was to be determined from a very reliable source.
Right,
so
right.
Both variables were determined from a reliable source, and on that basis, we calculated the rate of both parties of December. And on the basis of the past rate, we selected the lowest bid and ordered and procured, because we were not in position to retender. We were into very tight supply schedule. We were very tight production schedule.
Those who are aspiring, a career in supply chain management, of which Saurav has a lot of experience there because he is the VP supply chain. So Mukesh was in fact narrating a procurement of nickel, which had a very ticklish issue. And ultimately the production has to go on, and how the plant will go on if the raw material is not there. He was narrating that and how he was able to overcome the odds and place the order. Shall we go further? And may I invite Saurav now to take over from Mukesh
please.
On the next slide, tech savvy.
Yeah.
Please. So there's two things. Like one is the like if on the technical side or probably on the digitization side, like if we have to look at like how things are changing in India. So then let me put in one fact that like most of the places we are following China. So China में ऐसा 10 साल पहले हुआ था, 5 years पहले हुआ था. Now it is happening in India now, and we are catching up. Okay, so most of the industries, most of the trend, like whatever China was 3 years before, 5 years before, we are there now. Digitization is one thing where we have surpassed China now. So the rate of digitization in India is more than China. The percentage of population, percentage of like entire industry, consumer that is moved. Now there is a reason to it. That reason is that average age in China is 37 years. European countries, it is much more, like 46 years, 50 years in Italy, Spain, and so. In India, average the age of our population is 27 years. So the young age, the people like you, the audience of this forum, they are the one who are basically leading this change of digitization in India. So, and then it is going to increase much more from here. So that gap was there even before the coronavirus, like what all these things were there. Entire corona epidemic accelerated. We have talked about it multiple times in this discussion also. But the fact that it was bound to happen and it will happen like more from here. So that is basically is the point that we should understand and then look for it. And like one is the age, which I would like to say, the young population of India. Second is the penetration of this digitization into the tier 2, tier 3 towns and villages of the country, which is happening for last couple of years. And in this epidemic, how it has basically accelerated. So that way.
Saurav, can you tell them a little bit about what skills they require to be more successful in their aspiring organization wherever they join?
So probably, okay, I will come to specific skills also. But
this one basically technical and digital skills.
Okay, so let me talk about a bigger forum. Like probably we can talk about very few skills when we on like 1.5 hour. But fundamentally, let us try to understand like how things have moved last 60 years. like MBA graduates like who are listening to us, like if you see your grandfathers or the earlier generation. So a government job, 60 years retirement age, we are done. We graduated and we are done. We get a job, we are settled for life. Probably the scenario was still there 1990. Okay, 1990, then it was government, it was private. Still, you learn something, you graduate, you get a job, you change couple of times, and you are settled for life. Another 60 years. 2000 to 2010, 15. Now there has been a change wherein there is a need for upgrading your skills, and the internet came in, digitization came in. There are so many changes. Economy opened up. Now it's not written anywhere, but the fact is the retirement age, practical retirement is only 45 to 50 years. It depends on the industry and the profession you are in.
Very true.
There are people who keeps evolving, learning. They are moving. They are not retiring at that age. But rest of the people who are not learning are basically stuck there, and they have been forced to retire. They move out of employment. So this is a very important point that you need to understand, because next 20 years you will be.
Shall I pitch in just a second?
Sure.
Saurabh. Saurabh made a very important point. It is not being employable. Like Narayan Murthy said, somebody's mobile. Yeah. So Saurabh made a point in which he said that you need to be not employable at the time of entry, but you have to be employable throughout your career. That means the time you reach 45 plus to 50, you may very well be redundant there. You may be reduced to a kind of, you can say, statue, or a someone who is a deadwood, and you then have to look out or think of an alternate career, because the rate of obsolescence is very fast. So I'll just take 2 minutes to share an point which we used to make in private industry. When I was there, I served around 17 years in the private industry. So somebody came to me and said, sir, a young person with about 8 to 10 years experience. And he said, sir, I have got only very less, increment and no promotion. So I'm, I having 8 years experience. So I should be paid this, and you are paying this much to the guys who are just joining. Why so? I said, look, if I were to go to the market, would I buy an ambassador? Just supposedly they are manufactured. I would go for the latest, Seltos, or, what new cars is coming, Santos or whatever, Kia, those, rather than something which is an older version. So you are dated. So unless you are able to reskill, why should I pay you more? You should have to prove yourself that you are better than even the newer person who is joining. Continue, Saurabh.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the point. So for this audience, basically next 20 years, probably I would say you don't have a choice actually. Your retirement age will be 30 years. Let me make it very bluntly and on this forum. Whatever you are learning now, that will not suffice. Even 10 years is even, it may be, 10 years, 5 years maximum, because like what you are learning right now is very important. And that is setting up the foundation for your future. But understand, it is just the foundation. If you want to build a multi-tier career on this foundation, you will have to evolve every day. Tomorrow, you need to be better than this, whatever you are today. So read a book. Probably I will suggest 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. Whoever has not read it, please read. And then understand what are the kind of changes we are expecting in next 20-30 years. That will, then you can see whatever we are doing now, it will be relevant. Why Facebook has changed to Meta? If it was a like, those who know will understand. Those who don't know, go and read Metaverse. Satish ji was talking about new launches. Certain new launches are now happening in Metaverse now with the virtual those things. So those are the kind of changes we are moving on to right now. So entire which university in India or say globally is basically teaching Metaverse to us? Probably none. But this is where the industry is going. So
Thanks,
we can
Saurabh.
tell you
Thanks.
in this 1 hour session probably one or two skills.
Yeah,
like
we need more sessions for that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add to what Saurabh was saying. And in fact, our earlier CMD, he is Parthosarthi Sen Sharma. He is an IS officer, but he is an engineer from Delhi Technical University, that's Delhi College of Engineering, and also MBA. What he does is he reads a book. He keeps reading books to the extent that he plans to read 52 books in 52 weeks, and he almost manages and goes to around 48, 49. He said those are my teachers. So that's a point made. So now I'll ask Satish to continue the next slide on communication.
Just before moving to communication, just wanted to add one point here. To be able to upgrade continuously to the skills that are required to the times. For example, currently in our organization also, we are talking about a team of marketeers who have a 4-5 years average experience. We are taking them through an upgraded digital training course, which will run for next 6-7 months. So you can understand, so the audience that we have here, you are an audience who will be about to join the corporate world. I'm talking about a team who is already experienced, but we are still wanting to upgrade them because we understand that the environment is changing and things are changing around and skills are required. So rather than also, this is an instance where you, rather having estimated that you want to upgrade yourself, the company understands that there is an upgradation required and hence is providing that necessary experience, right? So it is both ways.
Right. Please take on this communication part.
Yeah, I think on this, I was also giving one instance earlier that everybody here is working remotely. If you ask me my personal experience, I don't know if all of us here belong to, I at least believe that I need some face-to-face connection to be able to do things better as compared to remote. But this environment, this current environment that we are working under has forced all of us to adapt, to be flexible, to work remote. And at the same time, what it does, it makes very difficult to understand the person who is on the other side of the connection. When you are sitting face to face and having a discussion in a meeting room, interacting with the person tells you a lot about how to get your discussion through, how to make your point, how to influence certain other people sitting in that same room or in that meeting. But a remote working makes you work harder to help understand what is happening on the other end, to understand the person better, and hence also requires for a greater degree of collaboration.
Right.
All the leaders present here.
Please mute others. Please mute. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I was telling it required a significantly greater degree of effort from all of the leaders present here. I can vouch for all 4 of us present here that it required that incremental effort or significantly more effort to do more collaboration and bring people together, handle our teams, ensure that our teams are interacting properly with the other teams, and the required processes are going on as required. And in these times, you need to be highly empathetic. You need to be sensitive to the requirement of other people. You need to understand that, for example, a person is recovering through COVID, is in his 7th day or 8th day, might not be in the best of health, might not be in the best of his thinking capacity, but company requirement might be very different, might be completely opposite, that you are right into a launch, for example, and you want that person to be delivering on the 7th day or 8th day, but you need to hold yourself back, understand that person, and be empathetic to his needs and requirements. That's what the first point was about: genuine human connection and understanding everybody that you are interacting with in this environment. Yeah, so it also requires a lot of discovery has happened, right? Microsoft Teams has become a part of our life. So many modes of communication, new modes of communication have become a part of our life, which we had never imagined. But it is also bringing in efficiency, I can tell you. All of these things have.
Please mute others. Please mute. Thank you. Please mute.
Participants are requested to mute themselves while the resource person is speaking. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just making the last point that a lot of new discoveries have happened in terms of communication modes. As we see right now we are having a webinar, online webinar, and reaching out to so many people.
Yeah, next slide,
Yeah.
please. What we'll do, because we had a second part, but we're running out of time very fast. So I'll ask each of the resource persons to share their experiences with reference to the employability skills which we look for in the young students who are coming to join us, like the ones in the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and other institutes also. So I'll request Saurav to start with operations, then Satish will take sales and supply chain, maybe again Saurav, and then Mukesh and myself. So operations, over to Saurav.
Sir, before to moving to the PPT, I am doing.
No PPT now, only discussion.
Okay.
We'll
so
have
I am
5
just
minutes
talking.
discussions, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll take questions, because if
Okay.
you go through PPT, it will be very long.
Okay, just one announcement to the participant. I will just share the feedback link in the chat box right now. So participants are requested to fill up their feedback form to receive their certificate. Okay, proceed, sir.
Sure. So, Saurav.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the operations. When you are looking for a MBA graduate, what are the skills you are looking forward to? And especially in the post-COVID times, because they have to be really agile and all. So what kind of persons you'll take in operations, and what they should, tone up?
So, probably let me also put in a line as to like what we mean by what kind of roles we mean by being in operations. So operations basically would be any role wherein it may be related to the backend office, or probably say at a BPO, a call center, in after sales services, even at the sales when handling the sales operations part of it. Like even when in marketing, it can be operations related jobs. For example, the BTLs, placement, processing. In finance, it would be the salary processing, other. So there can be there's a wide range wherein we come to define operations. But like when we come to the skills, probably we would be looking at people from a structured frame of mind, because in an operation role, there is a need to create processes and sustain processes. So adherence to processes is important. So someone who has that innate ability to basically create a process, कि ये काम ऐसे करना है. If it has to go from A to B, B to C, C to D, it has to go from A to B, from B to C, from C to D. It cannot be A to D.
Right.
Because long run in operations, those processes and those operation roles are successful where things are not people dependent, but process dependent and system dependent. So if it can go to A to D or A to C from C to D, so then that is person dependent. So that's why that structured thought process in terms of ensuring process adherence, that is important. Like need for process, need for system automation, and an eye for detailing, and so that is important. So this is what we look at.
So what I can understand from Saurav is a person who is, system oriented, and who is adhering to the process driven structure of any organization, and having also a definitely eye for detail. So if there is something going awry, he is able to catch it fast. So that is what is needed in operations. So you need to be really on your toes when you are delivering, because the customer is very much demanding. So now over to you, Satish. Tell me what you are looking for in a sales and marketing guy when you recruit.
Yeah. So typically for a B school grad, the roles that are immediately available in sales and marketing, either you start as an area sales manager. Area sales manager is either or a sales executive. Yeah, you're looking at for the sales responsibilities of a certain area, right? That's a typically that's a role that you start with. Or you start with like an assistant brand manager or a associate brand manager if you would come directly into marketing. But typically the journey is that you get into sales, learn a bit of 1 or 2 years of sales, and then get into marketing. That's typically the journey that you will find in most of the organizations. But some of the organizations are also taking B school grads directly into marketing nowadays.
Right.
Now,
Vijay, you may probably, I will ask you to just probably explain one more thing. Difference between sales and marketing. I think like going back to our days, college days, I think it was interchangeable in our minds. I'm sure it is there today also with students.
Let Satish define it.
Yeah, so for a lot of people, it is interchangeable, but typically the aspiration is to move from sales into marketing. If I ask, I think 100 people here, how many people you want to do sales or marketing? I'm sure 80 people will raise hand that they want to do marketing. And
90, I think.
Maybe 90 will raise hands. But I can tell you, marketing is not, so marketing, for example, requires out-of-box thinking and creativity, but it is not only about long hair and being cool and looking cool. It is not only about that. Believe me, it is what looks to the world is that the glamorous part of the job. But there is a lot of data analytics. There is a lot of project management. There is a lot of cross-functional coordination as qualities which is required to be successful in this job. So a lot of man management, which because you deal with cross-functional teams.
Right.
Out-of-box thinking, creativity, and a lot of a structured approach to a lot of data and analytics, which is typically thrown at you, and you have to do something about that. These are some 4-5 qualities which will be required. And Saurav asked a very important question because but I would a difference between sales and marketing, because I would believe that this forum at least understands the difference between sales and marketing.
And we don't understand. You have to say it.
Yeah. So marketing is about business creation, if you ask me. So if you ask me, what does a marketer do? A marketer creates business. So for example, a marketer thinks about a new opportunity. For example, a NPD development. There is a consumer need which is existing, and you go and identify that, and you create that product and then give it to sales. What sales does, sales takes it to the market, makes it available for the customers to buy in the retail environment. That's typically a very fundamental difference between marketing and sales. Yeah, and I told you where the marketing role not finishes, but that's that's a point where marketing hands over to sales to take the product. Now, once the product is made available in the market by the sales team, then marketing again takes over in terms of scaling up the product, of advertising, making the consumers aware, and scaling up the product. So sales and marketing do work hand in hand. And as Saurav is rightly saying, you can opt as moving from sales into marketing. You get to a semi-senior role in marketing, and you can then again opt to get into sales. But typically that happens very, very less, 10-15%, Saurav, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Most of people who have come to marketing do stick to marketing upwards.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Can I add something here?
I was just inviting you, Mukesh ji, to tell you. You can add first, then I'll tell what.
Yeah. Actually, just what Mr. Satish said, that it is about marketing is about identifying customer needs. I'm not a marketing person, but what I think it is not just actually in recently it has changed a bit. It is not only identifying customer need. It is now creating customer needs.
True.
It is now making customer feel the need of certain things.
Absolutely.
Creating the need is also coming very much, and new markets are emerging. Yeah, Satish.
No, I think Mukesh ji was absolutely right.
Mukeshji, now I'll invite you to tell what you see or want to see as qualities in aspiring finance people who are aspiring for a finance, and you can also differentiate between finance and accounting while you tell so.
Yeah. So far as finance recruitees are concerned, I would rather put it bluntly that I will not look for a person who has a very vast knowledge of finance or accounts. But definitely knowledge what is important. He must have basic understanding of the finance. He must have the basic understanding of the accounts also. But the more important quality that I would look for is the finance recruitee has to be a team person, because finance is such a job which cannot be done in isolation. It has to always to be a team job. So here targets are achieved as a team only. So I would like to recruit a person who is eager to work in a team, who is eager to take the team forward. This is one. And another thing is what Mr. Saurabh pointed out, that person should be driven in a system, who is ready to accept, who is ready to run a system, and who's ready to be part of the system. So these are the few qualities that I would like to look for in a finance person. And the second point you told me about accounting and finance difference. Actually, it is a big topic, but if I put it in a very short note, accounting is just post-bottom. What has happened in past, we record it, and we do post-bottom of those things. But finance is forward-looking, where you want to take the finances of the company, how do you manage the finances that you get your goal in future. So that is finance. So this is the basic difference between accounts and finance.
Thank you, Mukeshji. Now I'll just go over and conclude with the HR function. So what I look for in a HR guy while recruiting. So besides the points which has already been pointed out by the other resource person, basically, if I'm looking at a person, they can talk in terms of, think in terms of the role requirements. So now you have to be really tech savvy in terms of recruitment, because you have to search profiles not only in the portals, but also in the social platforms. Say the professional ones like LinkedIn and also Facebook to check some of the things, how the guy is, and then responding very fast to the candidates. Because if you're slow, then they will get a feeling that this is an organization which is, just not worth looking for. And then second thing is you have to be really fast in responding to employee relations. Like, for example, whether it is a salary advance or whether it is a benefit which they're looking forward to, if you are a part of the, approval part or something, because most of the organizations now have ESS, this is employee self-service. So when you have a ERP and ESS, so that will take care of it, but somewhere you might have something like authorization and all, so that you have to do it fast, so that you are able to serve your employees. So we look forward to people who are very fast in responding to the needs of the employees. And when we talk about performance management, most of the performance management is now online. So again, the guy has to be tech savvy. And when you talk about training, you have to know what the people know. That means they're tapping their knowledge level. And then like a training, I should just put in that we had a lot of, online training during the COVID period. So that people could at least retrain themselves while they were at work from home also, along with their work. And then general administration. That means in COVID times,
You're on mute.
sanitizations and other things like providing mask or getting the body temperatures or giving them medical a response when they're hospitalized. So much work is there from the administrative front, which is very, very important. So now we have had a very interactive discussion in which we looked at how COVID has impacted the business and how the post-COVID scenario, the customers are also equally demanding, and how digitization and automation has uh, made a difference in the way we deliver, and how the companies also have changed with times. And second part which we have looked at the employability skills which we are looking for in the students. So each one of us had taken a view what they're looking for in the aspiring students, whether it is operations, whether it's finance, whether it is sales, marketing, or HR. So I think most of the students would have had a bird's eye view of the situation, and I hope everybody benefited out of it. And any questions you might have, you can straight away shoot the question, I would say. Any questions?
Yes, now the session is forum is open for all, and if you have any question, any participant have, unmute yourself and ask, or you can type in the chat box also.
Feel free if you want to interact any point.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, Chattopadhyay sir, for your feedback.
Any student, any professor, feel free to ask questions if any. Don't shy. We'll ready to interact. I hope everybody had a good time, and thank you for to Dr. Patra and Sripanna for taking all the pains in the slide sharing and coordinating, and the Bharatiya Vidyapit Institute. And we are looking forward to even further interactions when things stabilize.
Yes, so if nobody has any questions, so we will move forward for the next part at the end of the sessions. We are almost. Sir, I think no one has no question. Sir, we have got one question for Shambarto Sangram Saha. He has asked that what is the role of HR except in hospitality industry?
Role of HR except means?
Except.
I think means to ask in hospitality industry.
I think so. Shambarto, you can unmute yourself or you can ask your question.
I got it confused. He's asking hospitality or except hospitality?
Shambarto, can you please unmute yourself? You can ask your question, because are you asking except or?
I think he's asking except.
Except
in other industries. In
Yes.
other industries.
Yes, Shambarto?
Yes, Shambarto, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, except hospitality industry, because I heard before right now that what's so told before now that what is the, role of HR other than in hotel industry, what I heard at that time.
Are you in the hotel industry or something, or you are aspiring for that? What? You are a student?
No, I have worked in the hotel industry because I'm the hospitality management student. I have worked in the 5-star hotels, sir.
Okay, that's nice.
You must be aware about the hospitality industry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I understood the context.
Yes,
See,
sir.
it's like this. The role of HR in any industry, whether it is manufacturing, services, retail, hospitality, anything, is more or less same. That is whether in terms of getting the people, that is recruiting, selecting, onboarding, induction, and then getting on with the performance management. That means
Audio
to
is
see
low.
that. Huh? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. So the performance management part of it, that is when the person has already landed in your organization. So how do you see skill? Then you identify the performance gaps, and then you go on with their training plans, and you try to bridge those gaps, and then accelerate his career in terms of giving him whether some different kind of cross-functional yeah, work experience, and whether it is in terms of making the job enriching. So all those things happen so that that person can grow in his career. So as if I understand, although I have never worked in hotel industry, but what I understand is as you grow up and you take up a role of say functionalities, food and beverages, and whether it is housekeeping, whether it is booking. So as you grow up and you take the role of head of a hotel, you become a general manager there, then you got to know all 3-4 functions. That is whether you should know food and beverages also, you should know booking also, you should know housekeeping, guest management, all that. So similarly, and then you take care of your employees through employee relations, and most of the companies now have ESS, which is employee self-service, so that you can put in your request there, and as per your entitlement, it will be getting authorized and you get the service. And then obviously, if you have unions and all, there are industrial relations department. You have to take care of recognitions and all. And then wage and salary administration is always there. It comes as a part of employee relations, which is to pay the salaries on time, and then the provident funds, the gratuities, and all the compliances, right? And that is how only the context will vary from one industry to the other. So when it is manufacturing, it is slightly different. So when it is services, it will be different. So that varies.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question?
No, sir.
Anybody
So
else?
participants, anybody else have any question?
So let's go to the closing, Sipanna and Dr.
Yes.
Patra.
Yes, sir. It's a really nice environment ambience, we can say. In a very well discussion forum, we have heard from 4 of you, 4 of the eminent
I
resource
alone would have
person.
been too boring, you know, that's why I called all the experts, other experts.
No, sir, it's not a boring. It's a really insightful session. It was a really very much insightful session for us, for the faculty and the students also, as well as all the participants, that we have learned. This is a thought-provoking knowledge gaining sessions, and yes, how we will reskill our students and how the students will reskill and upskills for the future role, and the future leaders will follow these valuable guidelines in the coming days. So we are at the end of the today's program. I would like to thanks to all of the eminent resource persons, and thanks to all of the participants who have participated today's program. And last but not the least, thanks to our IT support system who have extended their support to all of us. Without them, this program, this webinar would not have be possible to complete. Now I would like to request to all of you to please stand up and play the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जनगण मन अधिनायक.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.